Well, welcome to Great SA Cornyation. My name is Kayla Padilla. I'm a producer and reporter. I'm a producer on The Source. And I just wanted to welcome you all. We're so happy to have you here. Great SA is presented in partnership with the City of San Antonio World Heritage Office and supported by Shag The Salon. Some history, Cornyation. I think most of you, it seems like a lot of you know these people and are familiar with them. But just in case, Cornyation was created in 1951 by the San Antonio theater community as a way to mock the elite, and that included politicians and local community people. It was a sort of anti-elitist event where people created their own flamboyant queens and duchesses. And joining us today, like I said, are panelists that you definitely do recognize. They are some people that have helped keep Cornyation alive and vibrant in San Antonio over the decades. So right here we have Ray Chavez. He joined San Antonio Little Theater in 1961. And Ray was absolutely instrumental in the revival of Cornyation in 1983, which we'll get into that later in the discussion. And currently he is a director and coordinator for Cornyation. Jesse Mata has been part of the Cornyation family since 2003, and in that time he's done just about everything. So Jesse was King Anchovy 2020, and he currently serves as a designer, board member, and as he wrote script daddy for the annual production. Mindy Miller Hill joined Cornyation in 2007, where she served as the Queen and Duchess for Jesse's skit for a decade, so you guys are close. In 2019, she was King Anchovy. And she's on the Cornyation Board of Directors. And finally, Cruz Ortiz. He's an artist. And he's also the 2024 Cornyation King Anchovy. So. So how many of you here have been to Cornyation? Awesome. Well, for those of you who have yet to attend, you are in the right place to learn about the history and the transformation of this vibrant and fun production. So for our panelists, sometimes people are nervous or hesitant to attend events that they're not familiar with. So we really want to demystify Cornyation throughout this discussion. And could you guys just give us a rundown of an evening spent at Cornyation? So.
Yeah, are we talking about on stage or backstage or?
For now, on stage. When people show up, what do they see?
I mean, I can kick us off. I think what they see is essentially a pageant, right? They see the traditional methods of fiesta royalty turned on their head, and they see sort of the anti-queens and anti-duchesses, and they see a lot of references to current events, to politics. They see art and design. They see dance. They see drag queens doing their best, and ultimately they have a good time. It's a great event. We often tout the fact that it's air conditioned as one of the kind of like the greater benefits of it being during fiesta. But yeah, I mean, it's a good time for all, and inevitably you have people who want to end up coming back year after year. Yeah. What do you think, Ray? What do people see?
Well, to me, it's a series of 4 minutes skits of madness, and I mean, once you're there, I think once you're exposed to Cornyation, you're hooked for life. So, welcome everybody.
So, Ray, you are kind of one of the OGs of Cornyation. You got introduced to the production, like I said earlier, when you joined the San Antonio Little Theater in the 60s. And Cornyation actually used to be part of NIOSA, or Night Out in San Antonio, when you were first introduced to it. But they eventually canned the show because it had become, quote, too modern. So is that another way to say too gay, or what does too modern mean?
I don't know. I guess I'm modern. No, it was, well, it was as crazy then as it is now, and the Conservation Society just thought it wasn't good for Nyosa, and so they left it to the rest of the drunks outside, so. But anyway, it was canned for about 20 years, and then in '82, it was revived by the new director of the theater, but it didn't work, so Bob Jolly and I decided, or we tried to revive it, and we did it at the bottom, and then it's been going since then.
So none of us would be sitting here today if it weren't for you and a few other people who kept Cornyation alive in the 80s. So Cornyation was started in the 50s, and why didn't typical San Antonio events appeal or suffice for some people in the community? Why was there a need to create and to still continue today Cornyation?
You want to take it, or I can? I think there was, Fiesta has its very kind of like staid traditions. You know, it has a lot of stuff that's sort of baked into it with hierarchies and royalty and conceptions and beliefs about a certain social order. And I think that there were a lot of folks, even in that crowd, who were sick of it even 70 years ago, and realized that, like, hey, like I've got all these interesting, cool friends, and why can't we have our own version of this? Why can't we poke a little fun at all of that, and invite our out-of-town duchesses in and just have a good time, address the issues of the day, and really try to ultimately, have a little bit more of a good time than the sort of I guess you would call them just, the very sort of conservative celebrations that were typically part of Fiesta. And so, it's a formula for success. People are looking for an alternative then and now.
I would echo what Jesse just said, and also say that I think for today's audience, it continues to feel accessible to more than just the segment of the population that we spoke about earlier.
I agree. I just wanted to add, I'm super grateful to be on a panel with these people because it's a huge honor to be here. But no, when I think about the things that are happening today, like you think about the things that happened back then, this is an amazing model that keeps, adapting to the times. And I think that's one of the beauties of Cornyation, is that it's definitely making a critique on society, but in the most creative manner. So it's beautiful.
Well, I know not everyone who participates or comes to Cornyation shows is queer, but it does seem it is part of San Antonio.
They're not? I thought we checked that at the door.
Well, but it is part of San Antonio's queer history, and but in the 50s, not everyone was out, and people were not out and proud like some of your participants are today. So even having that in like 50s, 60s, 70s, what did that mean to have that in a time where people couldn't authentically be themselves and be out, and they would never get the opportunity to be?
Ray?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't look at it like that. Cornyation is for everybody, and I don't like to be labeled, and I don't like. I mean, that's my personal opinion about being categorized as a certain thing, because we make fun of everything, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Okay. Well, so when people think of, oh yes, you have a question?
I have a T-ball question for you guys that I don't think was mentioned, but I love the first of all, Ray, you're the El Ray, so But one of the things that impressed me when I first found out about Cornyation and got involved with it was how much of the money that you raise goes to the things you say you support, as opposed to tin soldier uniforms, police escorts, debutante balls, open bar tabs at the hotels, all those things that if I'm not mistaken, are absorbed by the people who participate and create this event. And there's nothing wrong with the probably exponentially more dollars that the Cavaliers contribute to charity. Good for them. But the percentage of what they generate and what they spend on politely patting themselves on the back doesn't exist with this group, and I think that's really important to note. So I don't know if y'all would like to address that.
Sure. That's Swiss Miss Dashbach, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We try to do our best to try to keep our expense structure low because it's important that the money we raise goes to benefit our very worthwhile organizations. You saw them lined up here. Every dollar that we make makes a difference. Every medal we sell, every ticket we sell, every table we sell. So we do try to keep the expenses low, and that means that we rely on our sponsors. We rely on incredibly intelligent artists and designers like Chris Sauter up here up front, Tori Santos in the audience as well, and others, to turn a dollar into gold and to really make magic with as little as possible. So thank you for that recognition. It is definitely intentional.
So, Cruz, you are this year's King Anchovy, and also this is your first year participating in Cornyation as well. So, what does it mean? Can you tell us in the context of the event to be King Anchovy, and how did you rise to power so quickly?
I'm not that kind of king. Honestly, I didn't want to do this. Like I didn't think.
Well, now he says something.
I didn't. It's not my jam, but no. But of course, Ray, and Olivia as well, my partner, was literally like, "You need to do this. This is important. This is for the community, and I think your position would help." And so I think for me, it was huge. I mean, I've gone to Cornyation before, of course. I remember the tortillas going everywhere, and amazing. But for me, I think when they asked me to jump in, I was just really caught off guard. I was not expecting the familia sensation of what Cornyation really is. Because, I mean, I had these amazing, beautiful drag queens hug me, and I'm like, "We've been waiting for you." And I'm like, "What? What does that mean?" Like, okay. And it's also another, special thing for me. I dedicated my reign to my uncle, Pepe, who passed away of AIDS during the 80s. And I wasn't allowed to be with him a lot. Like, my mom just did not want me to be near him. That was my dad's best friend. And so my dad would sneak us south to go see his studio right in the middle of Montrose in Houston. And I remember going to the studio and seeing all his friends, and I was like, "Damn, this is a great time." And then, he passed away, and we weren't allowed to see him in the hospital. And I think for me, there was always that gap, that hole. And so Cornyation definitely filled that for me, and it's been amazing since. So.
Well, can you tell us more about your uncle as a person and how knowing him and knowing his story, how that encouraged you to say yes to being King Anchovy 2024?
Well, I mean, I knew it was like you get these little things, that you get signs of things you need to do, right? And I think for me, when Ray asked, and of course Olivia was like, "You need to do this for your community," but also, because I dedicated my life to, like, in a sense, always being involved in community type of activities. And so this one, I served on the board of the Esperanza when I was very young, and so I got to learn about that community as well. But this was completely different. This was like, what? It was amazing because I got to see a vehicle that was running. Like, I got to see people coming together with little very money. It's very rascuache. Like, no one, like, they're like, "Dude, no, you're spending way too much money on this." Like, no. Like, we need more cardboard, more glitter. Like, oh shit, okay, yeah, I can do that. Like, and so that kind of thing was just really amazing to be around. And I think for me, those are the things that are the beautiful small things about Cornyation that, exponentially blow up into something beautiful like this. So.
Well, I'm still at you. When we still
Come
on
at me,
you.
come at me.
Well, when we had, I was talking to you before this, and you told me a story about how one time you were at this party and you dedicated a drink to your uncle because you wanted to keep AIDS in the conversation. And you did something that was pretty powerful. You said that you counted to 3 and you asked everyone in the room to say the name of someone they knew who had died from AIDS as a way to commemorate the lives that they lived. And can we do that here today? And can you lead it in honor of your uncle?
Yes, and I want to say that, when he was saying about the party with the purpose idea the other groups do, this is where it's different, right? This is where you feel something inside but then outside at the same time. And I think a lot of the fiesta things are about the party, and this is too. This is not saying there's something. Someone mentioned joy, the idea of joy, which is such a negotiated thing right now during these times. And for me, I thought, well, yeah, we could talk about the happy, fun party stuff, but let's talk about really what this money is going towards. And I think for me, it was about doing that. And I think I'd like to, we all have that. We have those people that passed. I don't believe in death. I think energy transfers. So I think it's one of those things. But I like to, if everyone could say on the count of 3, someone they knew who passed away from AIDS. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Wow, thank you, Cruz, for doing that. Thank you guys for participating and keeping these memories alive. I think it's important. And this is Cornyation. This is what, this is the other side of Cornyation that people don't see. This is behind all the makeup and all the glitter. And it's a space for queer people to exist authentically. And Jesse and Mindy, I want to go to you now. And could you tell us about, you guys have worked together for a very long time. Could you tell us about the work that you do together and how you met?
I can say that it was about 2006, and the show that year was at what was then known as Sunset Station. Jesse's skit stood out. We happened to visit afterward. His queen was incredible. She was, I think, a professional dancer, had some dance experience. And afterward, we spoke, and he said, well, we're in need. Crystal's leaving. We've got a spot. Would you, And I thought, are you sure you want me? I don't have that skill set, but I'm glad to try. And that's how it began. And then year after year, you sort of reinvent an idea, and you get to co-create. And for me, that was the joy, and that's how our relationship grew. And there was just trust. He said, would you be willing to don a vagina costume? And I was like, why not? I've done everything else. Sure, let's go.
That my grandmother made. Yeah. And it was beautiful. It was a beautiful vagina. Yeah.
It had teeth, as I recall.
So I recall meeting you because you told a filthy joke at a birthday party for a mutual friend. And I thought, wow, okay, I have to watch what I say, but I thought that is someone I need to know. And so when she came up to compliment us at Sunset Station, we did a skit about Jack Abramoff called I think it was the Duchess of Ignoble Indictments. And I said, okay, well, you're on stage next year. And I think, you were the mulch pile the first year, right?
Mulch Queen, right.
The mulch queen,
The Helotus
yeah,
mulch fire, anybody remember that? The fire that wouldn't die?
But it speaks, I think, Kayla, it speaks to the family nature, and Cruz alluded to this earlier, like not being aware that there's like a familia vibe, and that is absolutely it. These designers in the audience, they are part of groups that in some cases have been together for decades. And it's, folks may come and go, over the years, but a lot of that creative core is consistent year to year. And you really do develop a great working relationships most of the time with the folks in your skit, and you're able to really do some incredible magic because of those relationships. You earn that trust, right, over time. And so then Mindy, after her 10-year prison sentence, went to do some great stuff, and then Tori Santos joins and becomes a queen, and we begin that cycle over again. And so we're always welcoming new folks into the fold, and we're always trying to kind of learn and grow and evolve and welcome new folks into the family. So if you're interested, if you've thought about performing on stage, talk to us.
Mindy, did you know what you were getting into? Did you imagine that 10 years later you would still be?
I really didn't. I was willing to try, and to what Cruz and Jesse and Ray have all touched on, it is very much a community, and it is a very warm community, and we all are really putting our backs into the work, and it's just a joy. So yeah, I think that after year 10, when I said thank you, I will step back and offer my seat to someone else who might want to give it a shot, and then got pulled back in another fashion.
Sorry about that.
No, I mean, don't be. It is hard to say no to. It's a hard group to want to not be around.
Yeah, seems like it. So every year, Cornyation has different people, different productions. I heard that last year, and you guys can confirm this, there was a Governor Greg Abbott character, and something not very nice happened to him.
I think that's pretty much every year. Yeah.
Okay.
Could you be more specific? Which year?
Which version of bad
Well, I
happened
didn't
to
want to say the gory part of it, but could you guys just tell me, like, what are some of your favorite kind of... I mean, it's, we know what we got into when we had a Cornyation panel, so just tell us, what are your favorite, like, skits that you've done, or characters that you've had, or that you've played?
I'm thinking of Leora Uribe's skit about the Octomom, and like a clown car of babies. They just kept coming. The Listeria skit when Bluebell.
Chris Sauter is my idol, so a lot of his skits have been fantastic. Anti-vax skit with a bunch of Disney characters getting very ill on stage with each other is one of my favorites. One of my favorites from our own time was, oh God, I'm forgetting what the Duchess's name was, but the conceit was Jesus Christ couldn't come back to the United States because he's from the Middle East and our borders were closed. So he went and visited the great King Herod Trump with his dairy whip, olive branches, very beautifully played by our departed friend Marcus Saenz. Yeah, so that was one of my favorites. Ray, what are your favorites?
Well, let's see. Do we have about 3 hours? No, I go back all the way to the Bonham days when it was like just all local San Antonio events. And I think one of my favorites one was with the, if anybody remembers when they demolished the Texas Theater and they left only the facade. Well, the Duchess was dressed in a gown that was outrageously, unbelievably huge. It was made out of black plastic bags. And she came out and she walked down the runway, but when she turned around, she had nothing on. So it was just like the facade of the theater. And it was, I'll never forget that. Then there was one time, there was one about, I'll think of it.
Just a reminder, you guys can also come up and share any of your favorites.
Some nuclear play thing somewhere.
The Apocalyptic. Is that the Renee Roberts one?
Yes, and the no, this was an architect woman, and she had turned green completely, and she had her escorts were guys that were with the hazmat suits and dressed in white, but she was wearing a see-through green dress, and all the parts of her body were dyed green. We got away with some pretty crazy things at the bottom.
What about you, Cruz? Do you have any favorites?
You know, I have so many, but I agree. The one for me this year was Chris Sauter's. I think, you know, I was all waiting for like, yay, party. And I was like, oh shit, this is fucking sad. Like it just hit you hard, and it's like, and it was beautiful. Like the flags. I think for me that was, I'm never gonna let go of that one. That was just beautiful. Just the movement of that piece.
Can
was
you
beautiful.
tell us more about what you saw and why it moved you so much?
Well, I think, you know, all the skits are hilarious. Like the Kelsey one, oh my God! Like this year was amazing. But I think, you know, the Stanley Cups, all that stuff was hilarious. And then you just see these, you know, books burning, and then it was just a nice composition of imagery, but then movement. The costumes were amazing. Like, that's the kind of thing that's just like, wow, that's kind of cool. Like,
Yeah. Are there, I'm going to make this really awkward, but anyone who's like a costume designer, like, can you guys just stand up if you've had a hand in making Cornyation happen?
I better see you stand up. I know who you are. Curry, Sheila Curry, you better stand up. Tori Santos, you better stand up. There you are, Lori. Everybody, good. Matt Hales, you stood up, didn't you? You better.
All right, sorry I made you do that. I just wanted to see who you guys were. I mean, this is cute. This is important, and, you know, this is our community. And so do you think that Cornyation serves as a sort of historical record that people can look back on and say, well, these were the characters or topics in this year's Cornyation because this was happening in the state of Texas or in the legislature? And I mean, you guys have talked about gays in the military, about the abortion bans. Is Cornyation documenting history? Hell yeah. Thank you.
100%. And if you go next door to La Zona Gallery, you can see a collection of items, panoramic photos that shows you all the issues that we've covered over the years. But yeah, definitely. So what do y'all think? What do you think, Ray? Is it a political time capsule? Is there history there?
I agree.
Yes, I think it does capture what's happening in the world. I mean, it's about current events, right? How could it not? One of the initiatives we are trying to get started is an archival project and a partnership with UTSA Special Collections. They are not able to house the big, set pieces or costumes, but certainly any photos. And so we would invite you as members of the Cornyation community, if you want to learn more about the archival project, and if you've got photos or scripts or medals, and anything digital that could be collected, we'd love, we'd welcome that, and we would love the support.
Yeah. And there's also a book by Dr. Amy Stone, who's at Trinity University, called Cornyation. And I believe you guys were part of that book. Is that true? You were interviewed for it?
Yeah, I think the three of us definitely were interviewed along with a lot of other folks. Dr. Stone did an incredible job of research, not only of kind of like in-person interviews, but also source material through the Little Theater, et cetera. So it's a wonderful work and tells a really kind of comprehensive story of the show.
So before that book, there was no real documentation of Cornyation to that extent?
Yeah, I mean, that's the only book on record that we're aware of about Cornyation. So it's precious to us for that reason.
And also a local videographer named Dave Sims.